All right, we're recording now. It's just now 7. Wait about 5 minutes, nobody gets in here. I'm gonna mute it again.
Forty-five pounds.
Okay. All right, I'll get the meeting started in you. I think they can see me. All right, so welcome everybody. So use the Beekeeper. Yeah, June meeting. I feel coming. We're gonna do a pretty detailed demonstration of how to use the extraction equipment that the club owns that you can check out and use for free. So you don't have to go on date and buy, what is this, $500 worth of stuff or $800 worth of stuff? It's pretty expensive. Pretty expensive pile of stuff you have to get to do your own extraction. They're pretty expensive. We have, I think, 2 or 3 of these 6 frames.
Oh, yeah, we have 2 of these, I think, and that other one.
And 2 of the 4 frames or whatever. Yeah. So we got like 4 extractors. So, and we've got several of these uncapping boxes. So I'm Joe Powers, club president, Mike Simmons, vice president, Rebecca's our treasurer, Christy's our secretary. Thank you all for coming tonight. Like I said, we're gonna do a detailed demonstration here of how to use all this stuff because it's very important. And after we finish the demonstration, we're just gonna open it up for question and answers about what's going on with your bees, what's going on with our bees, what's going on with beekeeping in general. Did any of you guys attend the summer clinic? Any attendees? No, I was sick, so I couldn't go. Okay, so we won't have any questions. Nobody's gonna tell us about the great speakers they saw. But okay, but that sorry I missed that. I'm sorry I did too. But okay, so let's get started. Oh, Christy.
Oh, yeah.
Say again.
The Dr. Hollister, so Dr. Hollister, I don't know if y'all want to go.
Yeah, the fellow who talked to us, Dr. Hoster,
Ozturk.
very difficult for you to say. Anyway, for San Antonio, he is collecting honey samples again to test for what is in it, like what pollen and stuff bees are getting into and what nectars and stuff. So he needs an 8-ounce jar. It's in the most recent skep, how to go about doing it, to send yours in, and he'll then put it as part of his database.
Where is he located?
He's in San Antonio.
Is he
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
like
a
PhD,
yeah, he teaches for UTSA
He came and spoke to us
last year.
last year, yeah.
Yeah, he studies the medicinal benefits of honey,
Yeah,
like the healing properties and stuff like that.
he gave a really good speech. If you didn't see it last, it's on our YouTube channel, I think, so you can see that. And then also, is Richard here? There he is, right back there. Richard Law, who's busy with his phone. But anyway, our newest apprentice master beekeeper, right back there. He's been beekeeping now for maybe a year and a half, right, Richard? You've been beekeeping how long, Richard? Year and a half, maybe? About a year and a half you've been beekeeping?
Yes.
Yeah. Passed his master beekeeper exam for apprentice level, so. All right, Mike, I'll let you get on this. I'll turn up my microphone.
Okay, so actually, that's
You need help?
how are they doing the reservations now?
They send you the reservation?
They just email you or? So it's at Rebecca's house.
Yeah, it's all in my house, in my garage.
She's saving us a ton of money, the association, a ton of money by not having to storage. So what's, she actually has,
Just now, we needed this equipment for this evening, and I was away from home, so Christy came by my house. I could lock my garage and my day, and she went in and got the equipment. My dog barked at her, and we locked up, and so I don't really have to be there.
yeah, so it's a lot easier than, and then so they just email the info at HoustonBeekeepers.org.
So we're
No.
not spread. It's a form.
It's a form to fill out, which goes to her email address.
And it goes to Rebecca's email? Okay, yeah, so you fill out the form, it goes to Rebecca, and then you reserve
Oh,
it.
I got it.
And then, so what do you reserve it from? Is it like one day I can't remember. Huh?
Monday,
Oh, you can reserve it one day to a week?
from one day to day, up to 7 days.
Okay, so you can reserve it up to 7 days if you need it. I would get at least probably 2 or 3 days minimum. Because you're gonna want to have time to get it, track it all, clean it, and then actually bring it back. So when you get it, you'll pick it up from her house and you'll get it just like this. So you'll get the uncapping tank, the stand for the thing, for the extractor, the actual extractor, and then the uncapping knife. And then there's some stuff inside the uncapping tank. What you want to do when you set this up, so that's one thing you want to think about, especially if you're doing more than like a box or two. Is kind of get a workflow going on. So what I like to do, I use those, I used to, now I got all fancy stainless steel tables. So I used to use these little, lifetime plastic folding tables. I set one of those up like 6 foot, I think. And then you want to put like, the supers on one end, either on the floor or on top. And then, it's good to have some like either some extra lids or some like cookie sheets to put underneath it to collect, you're going to drip everywhere. Another little trick you can do too is to cover the floor in, painter's paper. You can use newspapers if you can actually find actual newspapers anymore. I don't know if they still print them things again. But, if you go to Home Depot, they sell painter's paper. It's pretty cheap. It comes in a big roll. It's like beige colored. You put that on the ground and tape it down. And that way when you get done, because honey's a pain in the butt to mop up. You know, especially if you have like concrete floors in your garage, wherever you do it. That's another thing to think about when you're doing it is you want to do it somewhere where you can keep bugs out. So like, I've seen a lot of like people like my size that are sideliners kind of. They have quite a few houses. They're going to be extracting for hours, but they're cheap. So I do mine in air conditioning because I got a big shop. But another little trick I've seen them do is they buy those canopies from Academy and they're screened on all 4 sides. So you get in there, you get some shade. The bugs can't get in because honey attracts everything, every bug on the planet, and then that'll keep the bugs out. And you can do it. If you can do it in air conditioning, that's great. If you want to do it in your kitchen, my wife wouldn't let me. I'd end up divorced. If you can get away with it, whatever. I have a shop that's air conditioned, so I go out there. But I don't keep my supers in the shop because I want them to be warm when I'm extracting them. The warmer the honey is, the more liquid it is, the easier it'll flow. So what I do is I'll keep them outside right in front of my door into my shop, and I'll grab one at a time when you're ready to extract. What else? So the workflow. So you want to have your supers, then your uncapping tank, and then your extractor. That way you can pull a frame from there, put it here, uncap it, put it in the extractor, and then extract it when it gets full. These uncapping tanks are pretty good size, so they'll actually hold a whole box worth. So like I think this is a 6 frame extractor. So if you do a whole box, you can uncap the whole box, load 4 or 6 in there, and then leave the other 4 tell you uncap a couple more. So you kind of get a workflow. If you can get someone to help you, that's awesome. If you've done it before, I'm sure if you get on like the Houston Beekeepers Facebook page and say, hey, looking for someone to help me, if anybody wants to learn how to extract honey, you'd be surprised. I get help every year. Like, cause I'm usually doing like 20 to 40 boxes. So having help is just amazing, especially if you're not paying for it. If anybody wants to drive to Mont Bellevue the second week of July, let me know. So when you get it, it'll have this bar in it. Then it'll have a double C honey strainer. And then it'll have this uncapping fork tool thingamabobber. There's a problem in it too. If not, it'll be in a separate box. It'll come with a hot knife. There's some other tools out there that they make. A serrated bread knife works pretty good. The best ones I found are super duper cheap ones. You get it like Sam's or from Amazon, like Chinese ones are super thin. They're trying to make them as cheap as possible. Those actually work better than the higher end ones. And then there's a uncapping fork. It's just like, it looks like it has all these things on it, they're just sticking out that way. Those are kind of nice to have to get the edges where you miss with using these devices. What else is there? Oh, there's the roller.
The roller kind.
So they make a roller that has a bunch of things on it. I bought one this year to try out. I've never actually used one of those. And if you want to get really, really big, you can buy a chain link cap for about $4 grand.
Or you can use a fork out of your
Yeah,
kitchen cabinet.
yeah, if you only have like 2 or 3 frames to extract and you want to use a fork out of your kitchen drawer, it works great. I hate these things. I've used them a couple times. I burned myself. I don't like them. They get too hot when you just leave them plugged in. They do work pretty good though. Like if you can keep the temperature right and keep going fast enough where it doesn't overheat, it'll uncap pretty fast. This works great for me. This is what I use. Been using for years. And I'll do, what is that? 200 or 300 frames, 400 frames with this. I can do it in a day. So this bar right here is when you get it, it's not going to come. It's going to be in the thing. So normally there's 2 of these on each side. This one's missing one. So that's another thing. When you return the equipment, if you lose a piece or if something breaks, just let us know so we can get it fixed for the next person. Some of the bearings and stuff we've had break on the extractor. It's not a big deal. We just need to know about it so we get it fixed. So there's these little slots on here and it don't fit in there very good, but it's plastic. So it gets deformed a little bit sitting around in the garages and stuff. And then normally you'd screw both of these on both sides. I think we'll hold it in there just fine. And it has a little screw sticking out the top of it. So that's so you can set your frame on it and then spin it around really easy. Pretty easy. Actually works better if you put the tip of the thing on it. And then all you're gonna do with this is just, it takes some practice. And like you see right here, when I start, it's not gonna get this top part. So you'll have to either go down, go up, start at the top and go down. Usually like 2 or 3 goes, you can get all the cappings off one side. And you just flip around, do the other side. And then you can either set this in here. It won't fit this way, unfortunately. But you can set it in there, set them in there like this, and you can set 3 or 4 of them. And 99% of the honey will drip into it. It has it looks like a queen excluder on the bottom. So it has a thing that catches the cappings, and then any honey left on it will drain into this bottom tank. And then when you get completely finished, it has a honey gate on this side, that orange honey gate. So when you get completely finished, you can undo this and then collect the rest of the honey. And I would let it sit. You'd be surprised how much honey it stays in cappings. So I would let it sit. I would put the lid back on it, take this bar off, put the lid back on it, put it at an angle like this, put your bucket and sieve and all that stuff underneath it. I'd let it sit for like 24 hours. If you can get it kind of warm, like 80 degrees, 90 degrees, you'll get quite a bit of honey out of your cappings if you do a couple boxes. The other thing you can do is if you have a fruit press, you put all the cappings, what I do, because I don't have a capping spinner yet, they're another $2,000. You can put all your cappings in a mesh bag, put it in a fruit press, and squeeze the bejesus out of them. You'll get quite a bit of honey out of it that way too. So that's pretty much uncapping. Then you're gonna want to set up your extractor. So it comes with this nice stance. So it has these chains on it. So you have to take the little screw piece off this side. And we'll put it in here. And that'll keep it attached to the stand. Because when you really get going with this thing, especially if it's a little bit unbalanced, it'll start wobbling. That's another reason it's nice to have two people so someone can hold this down while somebody's spinning it. And then you just load the frames in here. Another trick to be aware of is like, if you're me, I got all kinds of different mixed equipment. So I have some plastic frames and I have some wood frames and have frames without foundation, some wood. Try to get them, if you can get them all to be wood, it'll balance better, or all plastic or whatever. If not, try to put them opposite each other. So if you have two plastic frames, put them opposite each other to try to keep it balanced. So this is a radial extractor. So there's two types of extractors. There's tangential and radial. These are radial. So it spins the honey from both sides out the top. Tangential spins it, you do one side and you have to stop, flip all the frames over and then extract the other side. These are radial, so you want to load the top bar facing out. And it has a little thing at the bottom that the bar fits into. You can see it's pretty easy. And then once you get them all loaded up, so you want to have all 6 of them, you can do, like if you get to the end, you only have 2 frames, you can do them opposite each other. You can do 3 frames and, just try to get them spaced out. And then it has a one-way bearing on the shaft. So when you spin it, this inside is going to keep spinning. So the handle won't come around and break your wrist. Because once you get this, you put 6 frames in there, and then with the rotating mass on the side, it actually weighs quite a bit. So like you want to be careful, like if you have kids or anything around helping you, especially young kids, you don't want them, if they stick their hand in there, it'll tear them up. So be careful with that. And then you're going to want to start spinning. You're going to start at probably about this speed and let it spin for like a minute. That'll help balance it out. So the frames that are heavier will spin more honey out. And then once you really get, so you want to do it you want to do 6 frames, probably like 2 or 3 minutes. But you want to be going at it. I mean, anyway, got one frame there, you got one balance. So you want to spin it for 2 or 3 minutes, and then you want to check, let it stop. And then especially the first couple ones you do, you want to check to see how much it actually extracted all the honey out. Your frame should be pretty dry when you're done. We do a lot of work to keep these, so this is one of the payoffs for them. So you want to get as much as you can. And then when you get done, you want to put your empty frames into and it's good to have a couple extra supers so you can stack them in and set them off to the side. And then when you get completely done extracting all your frames, you want to take those supers and best thing you can do, quickest way you can do it is to go put them out at the bee yard about 100 yards away from your hives if you can. I know a lot of y'all keep these in your backyard, that's not an option. And then let them clean them out. They'll clean them out in a couple hours. There'll be millions and billions of bees on there. And then once they're dry, then you want to store them however you store them. The other option is you can put them on top of existing hives, let them clean them up inside the hive. If you're gonna do that, I just leave them over a day or 2 on the hive and then take them, pull them off and store them. There's a couple different ways to store them. A lot of hobbyists like to do the freeze method because they don't like to use chemicals. So you can take your frames, put them in a freezer, let them sit there for 48 hours. That kills any eggs that happen to be on there, any small hive beetles, wax moth, and that kind of nasty stuff. Just kill them all and you pull them out. And then best thing to do is put them in a trash bag, like a pretty decent quality trash bag, like get some contractor bags from Home Depot, and then put a really good knot in it. If a wax moth can get in there, then and then best thing you can do is you put another trash bag on it or put them inside like So,
Storage to them.
like a tote like that, but a bigger one. And then you can store them like that, and most likely you won't have any problems with wax moth. The other option is paramoth. Paramoth is, they make mothballs out of them. You gotta be really careful if you're gonna buy mothballs, not buy the actual paramoth. If you buy paramoth from Man Lake or any of the distributors, you don't have to worry about it. But you can buy mothballs that are made out of the same exact chemical, they're cheaper. But just make sure you're getting the exact chemical that's in paramoth and not the other mothballs, because the other mothballs will kill all your bees. Paramoth will kill your bees too if you put it on there, if it gets in your hive. The thing with paramoth is when it evaporates, it completely evaporates, it doesn't leave any residue in the combs. That's why people use it. For those, you want to put the frames back in the super, put a lid or a piece of plywood or something on the bottom. I like to use ratchet straps on them, so I'll put a ratchet strap around the whole thing. And I use migratory lids, so I'll put a migratory lid upside down on the bottom, and then I'll put five supers.
I think it's 5 is the max.
The 5 is the max you want to use, and then I'll put a paper plate, just like regular kitchen paper plate on top of that last super. I'll put paramoth on, I'll dump a bunch of paramoth in there, and put another lid on it, and then I'll put the ratchet strap around the whole thing. Cinch the bejesus out of it, because I don't want that to evaporate and then wax moth to be able to get in. So I cinch it up real good, and then if I have any damaged supers that have like cracks or holes or anything, I get duct tape, I tape them up. That way nothing can get in there after. So what that paramoth does, it's gonna kill everything in there. And then like all the eggs and stuff. And then most of it's probably gonna evaporate before you use those supers again. So if it all evaporates and something can get in there and lay eggs, you'll open your supers up and you'll be like, oh, gotta scrape them all down. It's called that's the most intensive thing that bees do is straw wax.
These store trash bags, should you throw paramount in there?
Yeah, you can do that too.
Because one time I did, they hatched in there, they right through that bag.
Yeah, so if wax moth, the larva get established in your, they'll eat plastic.
A lot of them across the fall.
Yeah, they're actually using wax moth larva to research on recycling plastic, because they eat plastic. Except it's weird, they won't eat plastic frames. I got plastic bee frames that I've had dead outs in and covered with wax moth, and the frames are fine. I just scrape them down. Scrape the junk off with a pressure washer and good to go.
That also, to his point about your 5-stack frames, 5-stack supers and making sure it's taped up. I did that, one time and didn't tape up a couple of little cracks where the 2 supers didn't fit exactly each other. And like a month later, I came back there in the barn, my farm came back. And I mean, the moths were like exploding out of the edges of the frame. It was crazy.
Yeah, and wax moth, like
Even though it had paramoth on it, the paramoth had gone away.
they'll eat wood frames. Like you've seen wax moth damage on frames, they'll eat these until the ears don't work anymore and you gotta get the frames. And then they'll tear your boxes up too. They'll put pivots all inside the boxes. So the more you can protect from wax moth, the better.
You said go 5, stack 5. Did you find if you go 6, it doesn't?
You could probably do more, like you could probably stack them up to the ceiling, but you need to put a paper plate of paramoth for every 5.
I see them stacked.
Yeah, that's what I've seen, like commercial keepers that keep, huge stacks of them. They'll do 5, put a piece of plywood, and then 5 more, and then a piece of plywood, and 5 more. I think they do that though too. That way if wax moth gets in, it only tears up 5 instead of, a stack of 50 or whatever. Those guys are stacking their forklifts and stuff. So the other thing, when you're extracting with this, you want to leave this honey gate open. Because if you get a honey level in here and it starts hitting the bottom of that thing while you're spinning, you're going to know it real quick. And it's not going to stay anyway. So I just leave it open the whole time. This should be followed up for a 5-gallon bucket.
Yep.
And then you put this on top of the 5-gallon bucket, we'll put it underneath there. When you're spinning, this thing starts shaking around. Keep an eye on that to make sure that it's actually going in the bucket, not on the tail. And this is a, what is it? I think it's a 200 million on the top and I think around 650.
400, I think, on the bottom.
6.
Yeah, 6 or 400, something like that. So but all the pollen should be
4 and 8. 500, 800.
Yeah, that whatever she said. Anyway, it's big enough for all the pollen to get through. So you're not. Doesn't qualify as like if you're doing a program or anything like that. It doesn't qualify as something. It's just getting the bee parts out. Wings and then the wax, mostly white rice. You'll find that if you do this and you bottle honey after that, you'll find a couple bottles still have really fine piece of wax at the top, which you can eat wax, so it's fine. The other trick you can do is if you have a really big kitchen sieve that you just use, I put one of those on top of here too, don't want a handle on it, because I have so much wax that passes through just the way I uncap and stuff, it's kind of sloppy because I'm doing it quick. It keeps the sieve from clogging up, and then that way I don't have to stop midway and let it drain all the way out and try to move the wax around and all that. So I can just pull it over and out, throw it in my. So I'll keep a cap in this bucket. I'll put a paint strainer in it, one of those 5-gallon paint strainers you get at Home Depot, and then I'll just throw my wax in there, and then the honey will go to the bottom, and then rip those caps. I'll take and melt down later, make candles and stuff out of it. A lip balm and so on.
Clean up.
Yeah, and then when you're done with everything, then you gotta clean up. That's the worst part. If you're doing it at your house or whatever, and you have bees at your house, you can take this extractor and go put it outside and open everything up. The bees will do like 99% of cleaning for you. You do that with all that stuff. And then when you get done with that though, you need to wash down the water hose real good. Don't use any crazy chemicals in it. If you want to use some Dawn dish soap, that's fine. You know, remember your other hobbyist beekeepers are going to use this after, and they don't want to have chemicals in there. And just make sure you rinse it out good, let it dry, and then bring it back to us, and then let us know if anything broke, so we get it fixed.
Yeah, if that bearing on the handle breaks,
Yeah,
it's over. You can't, it won't work. It just won't spin. So occasionally that bearing comes loose.
yeah, that's the worst one.
We've got spare ones though, so we ordered some extras. So we can get it fixed quickly.
Don't try to do anything crazy like hook a drill to this. It won't work.
Oh,
If you want an electric one, you're gonna have to buy one right now. Maybe next year we'll get electric one. I mean, if anybody has a lot of frames they want to do, like, you know, with more than 10 boxes, let me know. You can borrow my 20 frame extractor.
out of boxes.
Oh, yeah, it's good. So, yeah, the first thing you gotta do is get your bees to, or get your honey to the house, the NT supers, but preferably without bees in it. So, one of the most common options people use is fume boards. It's basically just a lid and it has a pad at the top of it. And then you spray that pad, and there's 2 chemicals you can use. You can use butyric acid, which is, I believe it's called honey rubber, is the main one that most places sell. It smells like throw, like legit throw. And if you get it on anything, you're never gonna just, whatever you get it on, it's either gonna be only for removing bees from hives, or you're gonna throw it away because it doesn't wash out. It works really well. It will get bees out of it super quick. The other option is Fisher's Bee Quick. And I think there's another brand of that stuff now. It smells like almonds. It actually smells really good. I used to use that when I did bee removals. Nobody ever complained about it when I sprayed it. They'd be like, what does that smell? It smells great. And it works really good. The bees don't like it. It just takes longer than the throw chemical. So that's the fume boards is the main thing that you can use chemicals with. There's a couple different fume boards. I tried one of the, like Man Lake makes a solar one that's supposed to have like flat pad on the top, supposed to get hot quicker and fumes. It didn't work for me. You can actually drive all the bees out, make them abscond if you use too much repellent on the fume board and leave it there for too long. So I don't recommend fume boards. If you want to use them, you can. If you don't have very much to do, like you got one hive with 2 boxes or something, you can pull each frame out and then just brush the bees off and then put them in another empty super. If you don't have a lot to do, that's a real gentle way of doing it. Before you start brushing them off, just smoke them down real good. Most of them will get down anyway. You can do it the way I do it, is with a blower. It sounds kind of mean, but it doesn't. I've never noticed it killing bees. So I take a honey super and I flip it upside down. I take a leaf blower. I got a cheap portable leaf blower. I didn't get it. You don't want to use like the ones that you see the professional lawn guys doing. You don't want that. That probably kills bees. I think it says it's like 90 miles an hour or something. I just turn that on, blow all the bees out of the super, and then I just around the other side and blow out the other side. Then I take them over to my truck, set them down, and then right before I go leave again, I'll blow them one more time.
What was the almond stuff called again?
Fisher's Bee Quick.
Fisher's
Be quick, yeah.
Yeah, supposedly the main ingredient is bitter almond oil. But that dude is super protective of that. See, that stuff's expensive. It's like $20 for an 8-ounce bottle, which is fine for doing the removal. That'll last you probably a few years if you're a hobbyist.
Yeah, I tried that, like, Robert, had a tree that had fallen in that wind. It did take one bee out, I'll tell you, it pulled flies in the trees, flies on. It was-
That butyric acid,
Yeah. Sounds like,
it's the worst smelling stuff on the planet. People use it, commercial people love it. It works.
There's the one way in your inner cover.
Oh, yeah, you can use, so you can get an inner cover, you can put an inner cover between the supers and the brood nest. And there's this little thing that flips into the oval hole. So if you got homemade inner covers, it might not work with your hole unless you did it to the Langstroth dimensions. But you click it in there, it's a one-way escape. So you do that the day before. It takes 24 hours and then 99% of the bees will be out of there by the next morning. So they go through that thing and then they can't go the other way. What else? So,
Yeah. If you use that though, you need to make sure there's no other way for them to get into the.
oh,
super.
yeah. Yeah, so like all my supers have drill holes in them. They found that if you drill a hole in a super, like a 3/4 inch hole in it, that if you use queen excluders, you don't lose any honey production because they have another entrance in to get the supers, but it still keeps the queen out of there, so you don't have to worry about brood. So I got holes in all mine, so I'd have to go put, the holes are just perfect for a wine club. So that's what I do when I store my supers. But I'd have to go put wine clubs in all of them, use one-way escape. And a blower is just so much convenience.
I think that's all.
I've seen people say you don't want to feed bees honey because you can cross-contaminate bees with viruses. Well, I have mixed thoughts about this, let bees clean up, after we extract them. So you're basically doing that. You're potentially cross-contaminating other hives with viruses. What's your thoughts on that?
So they're my bees. I keep all my bees healthy. So I don't have any problem. If I wanted to feed actually I do it all the time. So if I have a hive that's low on honey at the end of this summer, and I have another hive with tons of honey, I'll still have honey from there and slap in that hive. As long as they're coming from my bees that I know are healthy, then I don't have a problem. I mean, they can rob hives out all the time anyway. So like there's dead hives, these feral hives are everywhere. Like you could live in downtown Houston and not think there's feral hives that are everywhere. You just look at our bee notification for swarms and stuff. There's feral hives everywhere. So every time those hives die from broil mites, nobody's treating them, and they're probably commercial swarms anyway, so they're not broil resistant to begin with.
So long as you're keeping your bees isolated, they're healthy, you want a problem.
Yeah, I don't.
You're doing feral bees,
Yeah, I mean, I'll feed, like when I used to do removals, I would feed their own honey back to the hive, but I wouldn't feed it to another hive. No.
They say not to use the big virtual honey that's all mixed from different brands.
Yeah, half that stuff's from China or India.
That kind of stuff that's contaminated with different types of viruses and diseases. You don't want to get back to your honey. The local honey's fine.
Yeah, plus if you get Indian or Chinese honey or wherever from Costco or whatever, none of those countries have the same standards we do for miticides. So a lot of those countries are still using like CUFOs and all these nasty stuff that we decide, we quit using 10 years ago, but we're still finding it in the honey we make today. So yeah, I wouldn't feed that stuff to my bees.
Kids.
Huh?
For you kids.
Yeah, I wouldn't feed that to my kids either. Plus I don't know, I got some friends in India and they say that the beekeepers over there are actually pretty good, but the crop they get their honey from is like canola or something. It tastes terrible. My personal preference. I don't like goldenrod honey either. I think it tastes like feet. So
You want to show them how it completely comes apart, so when they're cleaning it. I mean, I can help you.
well, yeah,
Couldn't get it rid of that.
I think it's rid all of it.
Yeah. Try to clean it up. You leave it all together.
I started running again and I'm sore everywhere.
It's good, I think.
Hope so.
Okay, so what you'll notice is none of the bolts go inside of this thing.
No, yeah, it doesn't look all good.
Okay, it comes all the way out. So there's another part in the bottom. It has a little bearing in it, it's plastic. So you can take this all the way apart to clean it, right? So it's easy. Right here.
Okay.
But it's just a little plastic. Oh, yeah. But if you do take this out, don't forget to put it back in. I checked one out one time and this part wasn't in it and had to track down the person before me. So get that back. But these little, sometimes when you get it, these are loose. So you get these, there's a little U-bolt looking thing. Oops, goes in from the outside. And then points up. That way, when you screw it back together, there's no loose bolt that can come loose and fall down in honey and get grease, grease on it or whatever, because it's got some oil and grease on it. Wait a minute.
Do you think we can control other centipede extract,
What?
you know, you got, you put your frame tangent or.
So with a hand extractor, which was
Yeah.
done by hand, a tangential will probably actually do it better. But, that's a lot more work. Have to flip the frame every time, and then they're always unbalanced.
Yeah.
So they don't, especially they don't work good if you have like 6 frames.
I think ours are 4 frames.
I wouldn't never do more than a 4-frame tangential, because you're just asking for it to be unbalanced. It's gonna end up on the floor, side mains, and leaking stuff. So, I mean, I started beekeeping in the 2-frame tangential, and I did that till I had like 7 or 8 hives. And then I spent like a whole day spinning that thing, and I'm done, and I bought a 2-frame. So this is how you load the frame of this thing now that I got it out, if you see it. And then a tangential one, will do like this.
Yeah.
The other thing with this one, so this is the data rangers, these only take mediums, so if you're crazy and you did deeps, or why anybody want to go to the 7-pound
But I brought it deep, just so you can
bag
see.
full of honey. But if you did do that, these won't work, you have to use the other extractors you have.
This is so deep.
Yeah,
Like
this-
regular deep, like your,
Brood nest.
brood nest.
There's some crazy people that use deeps for everything. I used to be all medium, so I kind of understand what they're gonna go for. I was too busy worried about the top. That's super easy.
You know what I mean?
I think the last thing I did inside the mesh is take this thing over apart.
Yeah. So it's a little tricky putting it together, right? You just saw that? But you gotta get these 2 inches and that thing in the middle of the hole at the same time. And if you don't, she don't work. So the top of this is easy to see. It's a bent link.
Or you could do like me before I take anything apart, take a bunch of pictures of it myself.
Yeah, that's another way to do it. Okay, what else about that?
Oh, if you're gonna, so if you look on our YouTube site, there's what's her name? Lynn Jones did a talk for us. It's on our YouTube site. If you're thinking about selling honey, it goes over all the different laws. It's really informative and it's specific to Texas. So she covers the cottage food law, the small beekeeper exception.
Yeah, and particularly the labeling that you
Yeah,
have.
the label requirements, be legal. I still haven't met the bee police, but some of the, I did have a friend in LaPorte run into a Harris County health inspector that was out of his mind and didn't know the laws, tried to do tell him all kinds of bad information. So if you know all the laws, you can be like, no, you need to go read this piece of paper.
Yeah.
Go to the Texas A&M website and read about it, whatever, you know, so, it's good to know that kind of stuff. You're gonna sell it, especially if you're gonna sell it in, you know, farmers markets are actually targeted pretty hard by, health departments. So they like to show up and walk around and yell at people and stuff. I mean, if you're just selling to friends and family, you know, whatever. And if you're giving it away, who cares? Or if you're just using it for yourself, I don't know how much anybody can get that much honey. If you're gonna bottle it and you have quite a bit, most of the beekeeping websites are not great places to get bottling products from. You're gonna end up paying way too much. Look at webstaurantstore.com is a good place.
Say that again?
It's Webstaurant Store, like restaurant, but instead of RE, it's web. Webstaurant, yeah. I get most of my plastic bottles from them. There's a few places that have good deals on glass bottles, but they don't. Half the time they show up and there's a couple broken ones and there's no insurance or nothing for those. There is a distributor somewhere in Houston that does, but I think they only do case quantity, so you have to buy quite a bit. But it's really not that hard to like the case of bottles I get from Webstaurant Store. I think it's like 96 bottles. Sounds like a lot, but I mean, that's 3 or 4 super small. So if you had a good year, and then they'll store pretty well, so you can throw them somewhere, and you know they'll store in a garage. They don't perform or anything. So if you have you don't use them all that next year. One year you can use them the next year.
Yeah. I give my clients, my customers $1 back. They bring me back the jar. Give them $1 off, so.
I had a bunch of
Because
clients
actually,
about that.
jars cost less than $1, cost at least $1.
I sell them used bottles, you know, they're like $2.50 a piece. You can only buy them from a few places and they're expensive. But people buy them because they're fancy looking, especially around Christmas time. People like to have this real fancy bottle to give as gifts. So I do follow that. I don't want it back.
That's question back there.
When you're stacking up your super, doing the contractor bag, carrying on stuff, that can save on something that can be in the garage.
That can be, yeah.
Okay, it can be up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing, one thing we didn't mention that we should, and that is, let's say, for example, you're about to go on vacation for the summer, for August to Europe for 6 weeks. Say like somebody rich, like our mentor head, who's in Italy right now. But anyway, and you're leaving at the end of you're leaving at the beginning of July, which is when you need to basically harvest your honey. So you don't want to leave your honey on until the end of August, because if you do, you won't have any honey left because the bees will eat it all. So you can still harvest all that honey, even if you can't get to our extractors. What you do, you harvest the honey, you pull the frames out, and you put them in plastic bags and stick them in your freezer. So you need to have room in the freezer, or borrow your mom's freezer or your next door neighbor, store them all around the neighborhood. But you can store them in the freezer pretty much indefinitely. And then when you get home, thaw them out for 2 or 3 days, get the extractor and you extract it. The honey doesn't know the difference.
Yeah,
It's
and
just
for
fine.
some reason it doesn't crystallize in the freezer.
Doesn't crystallize
If
at
you
all.
get it cold, like 50 degrees, it'll crystallize in a day.
But in the freezer, it doesn't hurt it. But it doesn't ever actually freeze either. And it kind of, if you get a leak in the bag, it's a little bit messy inside your freezer, and it's still better than this.
You gotta put it back to frost up and you got all kinds of water balloons.
Yeah, right.
You definitely got to back.
Yeah, I put them in bags, yeah, usually,
Oh,
yeah.
that's another thing is you should do is, we're gonna get one of those,
What's that?
a refractometer.
Yes, we are.
So eventually we're gonna get a refractometer so y'all can test y'all's honey moisture. But you can buy one on Amazon, the cheap ones for like $20, calibrate them with extra virgin olive oil. They're within a percentage or two. So you wanna make sure it's 18% or below. Actually, you probably get like 19 around here.
Yeah, he's pretty
It's
much.
hard to get dry honey here. If it is too high, you've already extracted it, you can either try to dry it out. So what you do is you put it in a bucket or some kind of vessel And then you need to heat it up to about 9,500 degrees. So you need a band heater to go around it. You get those on Amazon for like $50. It's a silicone thing wrapped around it, plug it in, it's got a thermostat. Make sure it gets, like, you don't want it to get too hot because it'll change flavors. And then you put a like cheesecloth on top, and you have to put it in a dehumidified area. So it needs to be either inside where, like in my house, my AC, I got a dehumidifier and 2 air conditioners, just replace my air conditioners. And my house, inside my house is still like 60% humidity with the things running 24/7. So it needs to, you need to be below 50% humidity to really dry out. So I have a portable dehumidifier. I throw it in a closet. I get the humidity in there about 20%. It just sucks the moisture out of it. Do it in a day. It'll drop a couple percentage off that later. And if you, the faster you do it, the better off you are too, because then you'll preserve some of the flavors.
I stopped keeping my bees, so I won't like to see the pictures are on the problem that is honey, commerce picture of bed and still keep more.
So what?
I've got a mixture of
Yeah.
basically pure stuff and the stuff that the bees will eat back and being in there. It's adulterated.
Yeah, I mean, it's adulterated. I mean, it's not gonna be pure honey.
Yeah.
Even the ones you think are probably pure probably still have some sugar water in it. But I mean, if you're just gonna harvest it for yourself,
No big deal.
it's just, yeah.
You just lose a little flavor, you know,
Yeah.
lose a little.
I mean, just don't sell it to anybody and tell them it's pure honey.
Small gaps, fairly sure of it.
Yeah, as long as you're for sure, I like to leave my bees with so the honey they make in the spring, I'll leave all the stuff in the brew chamber, which usually the brew chamber's packed by about now. California stock. That's their honey to get them through until goldenrod. And then depending on how the goldenrod goes, I'll make a decision whether I need to feed them a bunch or not. So all this, I take off all my supers. I know some beekeepers, like I know a lady in Alvin that does natural beekeeping. She's real hardcore, but she always leaves them full super.
When will you treat it for varroa mites again?
So
Like after you
like the
harvest?
general guidance, is if you're not gonna test, so you should be testing every 3 or 4 months, at least twice a year, very minimum. If you're not gonna test, I don't test my hives. I got 50 something hives. I'm gonna test them. So I spot check a few of them here and there, but then I do treat them all twice a year. So I do spring and fall. So I'll do early spring, like I say spring, I usually do it because, you know, it's Texas. I do it like in into January, beginning of February is my spring treatment. And then I usually treat them like anytime in the fall.
After you harvest the fall harvest.
I don't fall harvest, so yeah.
No, you don't?
Yeah.
Okay,
And I use oxalic acid, which is safe to use with supers on now, so
that's true.
I don't have to worry about that. So if you're gonna use like formic acid or any of the miticides, then you have to worry about if you have honey supers on or not. So it's a good idea to do it after you harvest. I use oxalic acid. Yeah. Oxalic acid is the, if you get on Honeybee Coalition Health.org, I think it's,
Yep.
you can look at all the different treatment methods. Oxalic acid seems to make the most sense for me for here. If I lived a little further north, I would probably use formic acid once a year. But with the temperature, the way the temperature is in Texas, you know, it's especially.
Never cool enough.
Well, it has to be below 85 degrees to use formic acid. So the time of year when it's below 85 degrees, it's either, you know, it's 30 degrees in the morning and by afternoon it's 70 degrees. And it doesn't work at 30 degrees, formic acid doesn't work at all. So it has such a temperature sensitivity. I do want to try Hop Guard 3. So if anybody tries that out, these results, I'd love to hear. Hop Guard 3. It's the acid from hops, beta acid hops from the hops they used to make beer with. So it's a natural treatment. It's supposed to not have temperature things. I just don't know how.
So you can use that high temperature thing?
Yeah, supposedly.
That'd be good. It's good.
I don't know, but it's used it, so.
Yeah.
And I don't want to pay for it.
It's
kind of expensive.
I remember what Randy Oliver recommended on the scientific beekeeping. He recommended you treat 3 times a year. Once early, like you were saying with the oxalic, and then once in like August when you take the supers off. And then once more before the bees shut down, so like late fall.
Yeah,
So the problem for us always has been, okay, what do you use in August? It's like 150 degrees. Most of that stuff doesn't, you're not supposed to put it on the bees when it's that hot.
oxalic acid doesn't matter. You put on whatever. It's just if you do the vaporization method or sublimation, it's not very effective unless you do it a bunch. Then if you're gonna do that, I suggest you do some research and not follow the EPA guidance. Because it doesn't work.
I think they're trying to, I think Randy's testing out thymol on.
Yeah, what's thymol?
They're using, it's also sort of natural stuff.
There's actually,
He's testing thymol on home soap board.
there's
or
a
lawn.
commercial treatment that uses thymol too.
Yeah, that one has to go on hot days too.
How often do you inspect your hives to make sure something in the moment?
Depends on the time of year. Depends on the time of year. So like, right now I'm doing it every 10 to 14 days. That's about to go way down. So in the summertime,
You're inspecting, you say every couple of weeks?
yeah,
Okay.
every 10, 14 days. 10 days is optimal.
Losing a couple eyes to wax moths this year, because I kind of told them.
You didn't lose them to wax moth. Wax
Yeah,
moth,
well, smoke reason.
yeah, wax moth come in and destroyed everything.
Yeah.
So wax moth and small hive beetle are cleanup crew. So they only go in there after the hives are dead, or almost dead.
But what you're saying, forget that, you really need to stay on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at if you inspect your hive every 10 days, that'll catch any like swarms, queen cells. That'll give you plenty of, I'm not inspecting my hives 10 times every 10 days during the summer though, I don't have time for that. So in the summertime, maybe once a month. In the wintertime, like from October 1st, that's when bow season opens. So January 15th, my bees are on their own. Good luck, ladies. I'm hunting. I mean, it costs me bees every year, so I lose hives that I would have lost if I inspected it. I actually try to do an inspection around November if it's warm enough. And it's just to see if I need to feed them. It's not even inspecting, I just go around and pick up the back of each hive, see how heavy they are.
Yeah, I just started this year at 2 hives. One, they're really deep hive, where I put a super on it and it's almost full of that. Do you put it on it, or do you take that one off, put it fresh?
So there's a couple different thoughts about that. I mean, right now, this time of year, I wouldn't put another clothes on. We're done making honey now. You may have some, if you live next to a park that's irrigated and has a lot of landscaping and stuff, you might make a little more honey before we budge. So I wouldn't add another super this time of year. I would just let them finish that one, cap it and harvest it. But if if it was a month ago and you had a super that was like 90% full, I would have added another super. I prefer to do bottom supering. So you take that super off and you put it on there and you put the old super that you just took off onto that one. Supposedly that makes it fill it up better. Another thing I like to do too is I'll pull a frame out of the filled super, put it in the new super, especially if it's not drawn. If it's drawn wax, doesn't matter. But if it's new foundation, you want to put a frame in there that's already drawn. That way they know that, hey, I'm supposed to draw this out, and it's not just plastic that's in the way. Because these are weird, man. They'll ignore a super. I've been trying to do that with what's that stuff called? The cut comb stuff. I can't get them to draw cut comb on this plastic thing I bought. It's called Simple Comb. Super expensive. They won't draw it because they're just ignoring it. But I like the bottom super. But man, I had this year I had a couple of hives that had like 6 supers on them. I need to add another one. I'm not pulling them off. It's like 50 pounds a piece, and they're this tall. So I got to get a ladder out to get the top one off. I just pull another one on top.
How many things?
There's no limit. I mean, really though, like if you have 4 or 5 hives and you get one that's got 4 supers on it, and you got one that's 2, you take that super and put it on that one.
Especially if it's winter.
Yeah. Yeah, now you gotta worry about, everybody's got their ratchet straps and ground anchors for their hives. They're supposed to have bad hurricane season this year. So we got, they say tropical storm next week coming to Mexico again.
I'm like him, I'm on first years, so I've got a couple of supers on there, but I didn't plan the house, I didn't expect ours, and just leave it to be, or,
I mean, are they full?
not yet.
I mean, I would just wait until they cap it all and harvest them. I mean,
Yeah.
at least harvest a couple frames, enjoy it.
Especially because you got all this equipment you can get for free.
Yeah, I mean, you don't cost
You
you
used
nothing
to do it, yeah.
time and effort. I mean, if you're worried about it, leave a full super on and then harvest the rest. If you leave a full super on, they got plenty of food here through summer. And then you have to make a judgment call in October when goldenrod blooms. goldenrod bloom, like last year, they made a ton of goldenrod honey. I went to my bee yard last year. I got out of my truck and I was like, it's that smell, something died. I walked around looking for something dead and it was the goldenrod honey. It stunk so bad. Because they made so much of it. So, but some years, it's too cold or too wet, they can't make any goldenrod honey, so. Then you gotta feed them, or if you've left enough honey on there, you can.
Here's my question.
Frame? I like plastic frames. Well, yeah, I like plastic frames. So I go through a lot of frames every year, so I sell nukes, so I go, that's 100 frames or so that I'm gonna sell at least. And I have frames I gotta replace every couple of years, like my honey supers, I probably replace, 30, 40 frames every year because they're rotten or whatever. Or I broke them, or I left them sitting in the sun too long, they melted or whatever. So I like plastic frames, I buy those, they come, I buy them extra heavy wax. I pay the extra $10 a box or whatever, and it comes with 20 of these wax on it, so they draw it nice. And I take it out of the box, I put it super, I'm done, I don't have to build 100 frames. Snap all the foundation in. This year I ended up buying 100 medium frames from Amazon because they had them, they had to get them to me in time. So I had to build 100 wooden frames. And they didn't have enough wax in them, so get the roller out and roll wax on all of them. If y'all haven't done that, I found a cool YouTube video the other day. This guy up in Pennsylvania, he took beeswax and he dyed it red, and then he rolled it out on the frames real thick, and he put it in hives and let them draw it out. And you can see where they took the wax that he put on the frames and drew it out into the hexagons. So you had all those red hexagons. And so, I mean, it saves the bees so much effort. So if you have wax, I started waxing mine a lot more now.
Yeah. Other questions?
About anything, harvesting, take your bees, pests.
Yeah, pest is the big deal. Throw mites, gotta kill 'em.
Yeah, this time of year is a good time to test your hives. So well, actually probably in the winter. So your bees is quit bringing in as much nectar and pollen now that we're in the summer. Houston is a summer dearth. There's not much bloom. We may actually be a little bit better this year because we're actually getting some rain.
Yep.
Especially in the dry year. So your bee population is going down. Where your varroa mite population that you built up with this, you had 100,000 bees in your hive. And now it's going to drop down to 30, 40,000 over the summer or less. So all those varroa mites that you have in your hive, their population is not crashing. They're still making more varroa mites. So now is when you get to the bad part where you have one population go down and you end up with a lot higher percentage of bees that have varroa mites on. So it's really hard on your hive. So now's a good time to test them. And if you need to treat them in the middle of summer, oxalic acid is a good one.
Or maybe Hopcard 3 or thymol.
Yeah. Definitely not formic acid, it will kill all your bees.
Yeah.
Or if you want to use this, what's that one everybody likes to use, Apivar?
Yeah.
That's a synthetic miticide, but I've talked to around here said it works. If you don't mind using a chemical. I prefer not to use that. That's another thing about oxalic acid. So it was that ONRI, the organic place that's registered with them. So it's an organic treatment in spinach. It's in honey by itself.
Formic acid is what about you fire.
Yeah, it's a fire ant.
Yeah, that's what you do. Bee venom has formic acid in it too. That's one of the reasons they're resistant to it. But like, there's so many plants that are real high in oxalic acid, but bees are really resistant to it.
So it's all over. Like, maybe
Anybody else?
some more small ideas. So recommendation to try.
If you want to put traps in there, go for it. It don't hurt none. So the little wool traps, they work pretty okay. Swiffer sheets, you can use those. I would be careful about putting the Swiffer sheets in between your two brood chambers. Because I've seen a couple pictures on the internet. I've never had it happen myself. I've used Swiffer sheets before. I've seen pictures on the internet where somebody's queen was stuck in one of those Swiffer sheets dead. So if you're gonna do that, put it on top of the brood chamber so the queen's probably not gonna come in contact with it.
I want to talk about
Yeah, because
They all move up, they move, the bees run them up.
yeah, the bees run them up to the top and then they build little propolis gels to store them in. They can't kill them, but they can. wrangle them up so that they don't. I mean, you can smash them if you want for fun, but. I mean, as long as you have a strong hive, they'll keep the bees, hive beetle in check.
Is your hive in the shade at all?
It's between the two.
Yeah,
If you can get it more out in the sun, that'll help get rid of that.
full sun.
Help keep the hive beetles down.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's probably not enough. It needs to be like at least 6 hours a day in the sun, yeah.
That helps the small hive move for some reason.
I put mine out where they're in the sun up until about 5 o'clock when the sun's starting to set.
Do what?
Diatomaceous earth. I thought I saw something I had.
Yes,
Yeah, I
it
use
does
that.
work.
I got a bag of it in my truck right now.
Get a top covered. Half inch spot.
Top?
That's risky
Yeah, I wouldn't do.
because
don't want that.
it'll also kill the bees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can put it in those small hive beetle traps instead of oil. The problem is if you're like me and every time you pull one of those off and then you set it down on the ground on the edge,
Dump it up.
shit spills out, the stuff spills out. And if you're spilling out diatomaceous earth, you're killing your bees by accident. Where if you get a little oil on them, the bees seem to be able to handle that.
You can sprinkle diatomaceous earth underneath your hives, supposedly, because the small hive beetle pupates outside. They don't pupate in the hive. So they lay the eggs hatch into larvae, then the larva crawls out of the hive, they bury in the ground, and then they come back as small hive beetles.
Yes.
So if you put diatomaceous earth on the ground outside, when they go outside the pupate, they get in contact with the dye. My problem with diatomaceous earth, as soon as it rains, it's gone. You know, it's Houston, 56 inches a year on average.
I've used,
Oh, really?
Acidified. I mean, I use diatomaceous earth around my house a lot, but I use it for the ants. The fire ants, keeps fire ants away.
Yeah.
How do you deal with pregnant skin in their eyes, or you don't have?
I don't have any crazy ants where I'm at.
Now you gotta do it.
Knock on wood.
I mean, I got one ditch bank, they wiped out eyes, it goes bees out.
Yeah, I had a house in Big City and I had crazy ants there. I could not kill them things.
They're trying to figure out what to deal with, other than food.
I use like real high-end pesticides and they'd kill them then and then they come back 2 weeks later.
Mhm.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thanks.
I got a question. Anybody want to try a NICOT system? NICOT
I will
clean rate
get it.
system? Oh. So I got a couple extra too. I've only brought one tonight. I'm gonna bring a couple next time. So if anybody's interested in trying to raise queens with a NICOT system, this is a Chinese version. I actually raised queens with it. It just,
These two parts.
anybody wants it, they can have it. I've decided I'm just gonna keep grafting queens. So, I mean, it's pretty simple. You you have to buy these cups. I didn't bring any of those extra ones. I have some somewhere. But you put these cups on the bag and then you drop your queen in this little hole. She lays eggs in those cups, takes about a day. And then, this is a queen excluder so that the worker bees can stick it in there and take care of the queen. You wait till the little cups, till the larva hatches, or the eggs hatch from the larva. And then you pull the cups out and you put them in these queen bars, on these cell bars. You stick. These were in the house, so they got wax and stuff on them. But the little round cup just pops in there. And then you pop it in the hive and then they grow queens. You never actually had to do any grafting. You do have to pick up your queen once. I guess you could probably use one of those little queen crack pipe looking catcher thing with bobbers, catch her and just get her to go in there without actually touching her. You're worried about picking up the queen. If you haven't been able to, if you can't pick up queens with your bare hands or gloves on, that's another thing I'm sure. So everybody asked me about this when I was selling nooks this year. These are the gloves I wear when I work bees. They're 8 mil gloves. I get them on Amazon from GloveWorks. I do get stung through them occasionally. Not very often. And it's usually because I'm being stupid and I smush a bee with my finger. But I can actually feel things with this way better than leather gloves. So if you don't mind occasionally getting stung, I highly recommend these. Somebody told me Harbor Freight has them too. They're 9 mil Harbor Freight.
You guys are 10 millimeter.
The only thing, the reason I went with these because they're orange, because I've had bad luck with black things around bees, you know, they don't like the color blacks. But these work great for me. I've been using them for like 3 or 4 years now. And a box lasts me I can reuse it most of the time. Glove works. I mean, I'm sure you can find any 8 mil glove that's not black, 8 to 10 millimeter mil glove. But these are, like with these on, I can pick up a queen and I don't have to worry about smashing it. And then I don't have to do it with my bare hands. Not that I've picked up 100 queens and I've never been stung by one, but you're picking those up and there's other bees around. So, but if you want to learn how to pick up queens, the best way to do that is with drones. Just get your frame out, especially now it's a good time of year, there's still a lot of drones out. Just start picking up drones and moving them around until you can do it without crushing and gain the confidence to pick up a queen. And then you don't have to worry about it. You can do those barehanded. Drones don't have stingers anyway.
All the other bees in the frame do, however.
I mean, you're a bee, you're gonna get stung, you have to get used to it. But if anybody wants this, they can have it. And if there's more than one person wants one, I'll bring another one next month.
All right.
Well, the next month, we're gonna be at, we're gonna drink beer at Axelrad.
Yeah.
So we're not having our regular meeting here, we'll be at Axelrad, AXELRAD.
Yeah.
And that's around here somewhere.
It's not too far and we'll have pizza.
Pizza.
We'll have drink tickets. The drink tickets are good enough for whatever you want to get at the bar, more or less,
Yeah.
per drink ticket. They only charge us for what you actually buy, so,
Do you make meat?
So I make meat, yeah. We actually have a really good YouTube video, I think it was a year or two ago.
yeah, on how to do
The
it.
owner of Wildflower Meats came, he made meat in front of everybody. Yeah, meat's fun. Actually, you really don't need that much honey to make quite a lot of meat.
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4 pounds makes it 5 gallons or something.
6 gallons,
Oh,
5 or 6 gallons.
yeah, but you can make it. I don't like straight meat though, it tastes like rocket food to me. Never been able, I've tried a bunch of times to make regular old meat with nothing but honey in it to where it tastes good and I can't get it to where I like it. So I make fruit meats, blueberry meats, my favorite, I'll make that every time. Last time I made it, I ended up, it's bad. A buddy of mine came over, we were making beer, I brewed beer too. And we were drinking my meat that I made 6 months ago. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I'm not. My wife is not happy.
Just, all right, so let's see, what do we have for door prizes tonight?
Door prizes and call it. If you want to look at that, y'all can you show me?
I don't know. I kind of.
Yeah.
Jumped out of it.
So.
Not ready for my brain to keep it.
So are these the same? Yeah.
But I like.
You gotta buy these.
I
You
just
can have that one.
they-
Oh, yeah, just buy the cups. You don't have to look, it's like hot. Yeah,
that's
nice. Yeah,
That's
it's
really
such a good thing. And you, like, I did this a couple times where I did, because I was just testing it out. I wouldn't, this is 50 cells. I'd only,
All right,
do 10 of this or whatever. You can do less. You don't have to raise 50.
so for door prizes, we have Varroa mite checker, which if you don't have one of these, everybody needs to have one of these. We have this, fits on a 5-gallon bucket that you can actually use for uncapping into a 5-gallon bucket. So it's got the little lip there. Fits around your bucket. We have Cracker Jacks made with honey. And we have hot bread and butter pickles with honey. Then Joe brought, what kind of plants do we have today, Joe? Bee balm and hyssop. So we have 4 of those, 2 of these, 2 of those, and 1 of those. So, all right, here we go with the numbers. Here, you do the number, I'll read it.
How many door prizes we have?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Everyone gets a door prize.
Not quite.
10?
Yeah, 10.
13.
Number 13. Richard Law. I'm getting my glasses. So I can read. One is Blake Scaramarchi. Blake Pick whatever you want. Plants, this thing here. You want the plants? Okay.
Right. 14.
14. Simone. What do you want? Plants, okay.
11.
11, Jim Burrow.
Number 1.
Number 1, Karen Harrell.
13.
We did, Richard already won once.
7.
Chris George.
2.
Perry Harrell.
18.
You,
Mortar. 8.
8. Dan Sebesto.
Oh, it's good. You don't want this? Did they make
At least I didn't have to get home.
I don't know. What number? 22? Sure. Al Sanchez.
I'll take the last one. We're trying.
Okay. Oh, and Mike actually won, so he's taking some.
Thanks, got something I want.
All right. So our next meeting, just to remind you, once again, since you only heard it like 5 minutes ago, Axelrad instead of here. We'll have a couple drink tickets for everybody. We'll buy pizza. Oh, and we usually try to show like a short movie or video or something.
20, 30 minutes. max.
Yeah, so if somebody's got some good ideas, something be cool for beekeepers to see. That'd be, any ideas would be great. Just email like info@houstonbeekeepers.org or text one of us or whatever. It is right there. And there's a pizza place next door that we get the pizza from. They just bring it over or we can get it. Yeah, it's pretty good. Huh? The third Tuesday of July, whatever that
I
day
think it's
is.
the 18th. 16.
16? 16.
Missed it. 17.
Jar, Brady Butters.
That's what he's talking.
Oh, he got it?
Yeah.
I'm taking it. I like pickles.
Oh,
He looked, he said, oh, there's my name in the prize. All
Yeah, the 16th,
right.
7 p.m.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming. We don't have to pick up chairs here. The guy gets it for us, so we're all good. So just get your stuff and get it. Yeah.
Since I have a lane time, and we might be getting a things for that time. I know
That's a
we
big
will.
range.
She would take like, spray something, tack and all that.
Yeah, I think they actually. I think. I think they might listen to you. I just bought an unpacked thing.
All right.
Later.
And this one.
It was good. It was $800.